It's the only place I haven't yet been in detail. I never felt comfortable anywhere inside the Green Zone. Nobody did. It was where the Taliban were and we weren't. A thin strip of well-irrigated land, no more than 10 kilometers wide at its broadest point, on each side of the Helmand River. The great waterway snaked its way down the entire length of the province, through vegetation dense enough to make it a guerrilla fighter's paradise. We preferred the desert which covered the rest of Helmand. There was nowhere to hide there. British forces had first entered Helmand and its Green Zone 2 months earlier. Only now, though, were we beginning to realize what a massive, tough battle it was going to be. "I've got something," Simon said quietly. "Northeast corner of the second field, just under the trees. No thermal off it, but it's definitely a body. Lasering now for the grid reference." I radioed the company commander on the ground, passed on the grid reference, and gave him verbal directions as well. A minute later, Simon spoke again. "I've got a second. 10 meters to the north of the first. Tucked under the trees this time in a ditch. No thermals." My heart sank. 1 KIA and 1 MIA now sounded very much like 2 KIAs. We were too late. I radioed the para's commander again. A second crosshair on my monocle told me exactly where Simon was focusing his TADs. He was on the second body, and he hadn't moved for a good 30 seconds. We couldn't afford to concentrate on them. We still needed to look out for the boys. A body might be the perfect come-on for another ambush. He needed to scan beyond the tree line now. "Si, pull out. Look out for the boys. There's something wrong." "There's a lot fucking wrong, mate. They're dead. Just pull out." "No, Ed, there's something wrong with the bodies." I looked down at my TAD screen above my right knee for the first time. It replicated Simon's vision completely. It was immediately obvious that there was no tonal difference on either of the guys' body surfaces. They'd been stripped. "It's not just their clothes. Look at the way they're lying. Does that look right to you?" Both men were flat out, arms down by their sides. You don't fall like that if you've been hit in combat. As we continued to circle, Simon's view improved. He was right. There was something wrong with the bodies. A lot wrong. I didn't want to look anymore. "You fucking wankers," Simon breathed. A few seconds later, the para's commander made it official. "Wildman 5-1, Widow 7-4. That's 2 KIA confirmed. We're bagging them up now." On the flight back to Camp Bastion, I knew what Simon was wondering because I was wondering it too. Was Patton or Bartlett still alive by the time the Taliban got their hands on them? I prayed they weren't. If they were, the awful terror they must have experienced in the last desperate minutes of their lives was too unbearable to contemplate. We all knew what the Mujahideen had done to the Soviet helicopter gunship pilots they captured. Yes, our Apaches were as mean and powerful as they looked, but we weren't untouchable. Our intelligence briefs reminded us daily how determined the Taliban were to take out one of our helicopters, and they hated the Apaches most. "Praise be to Allah, I want you to bring down a mosquito," their Taliban commanders could be overheard in radio intercepts. That was their word for us, mosquitoes. They called the Chinooks cows. We were on a reconstruction and security mission, not an invasion, but our enemy in southern Afghanistan couldn't give us stuff what mandate we'd come under. If they got their hands on us, a quick death would be the very best we could hope for. We found out exactly what had happened to the 2 SBS guys some days later. The 2 men's colleagues back in Force 84's secure ops room at Kandahar airfield were forced to sit and watch the whole ghastly show play out as it happened. Patton and Bartlett's last moments were piped through in real time on a live TV feed from a predator circling above them. That's why they had been able to tell us exactly where to look. 7th of November 2006, 14:35. 2 minutes, fella. I'd been dozing. The Chinook's Lodi woke me with a gentle kick. Billy and the boss were on the other side of the Chinook. Billy had been kipping as well, but the boss was still staring avidly out of a glassless porthole window, fascinated. Unlike Billy and me, it was his first time. I strapped on my helmet as the sound of the rotor blades changed. Our tactical descent into Camp Bastion had begun. The Helmand Task Force's HQ, meaning the brigadier and his staff, was in the province's capital, Lashkargah, but Camp Bastion was its accommodation and logistics hub.